Hi, gamers and developers, and welcome to another edition of Coffee and Games. We have a lot of great speakers today, and also some really good games that were made since last Friday. Yeah, so I hope you're excited. And speaking of great speakers, we have two here right now. We have Jason and Beno.
Hello.
Hello.
We also have a live audience. So to start, I would like for you guys to talk a little bit about your position, what you guys do at Funcom, and about that. So you can start, Jason, if you want.
Okay, yeah. My name is Jason Janicki. I'm originally from California in the United States, if you can't tell by my accent. Yeah, I've been a game designer. I'm the lead game designer at Funcom's ZPX right now. I've been a game designer for about 18 years, about 23 years in the industry. I started out as a tester at Microsoft. Currently, as I said, I'm the lead designer at ZPX. For those who don't know, we are working on a Dune game, an SOC, survival open world crafting game. There are quite a few people working on it. It's a very large project. I'm currently, I don't know exactly how much I can tell you about what I'm working on, but I'm in charge of a small team working on one particular aspect of the game.
Okay.
And I've been at ZPX for just about almost exactly a year now.
Nice.
Right, and as for me, I'm Beñat Maurice de Perdigo. So half French, half Spanish. I've lived in Luxembourg all my life, and now I'm here. Yeah, I'm an engine programmer at Funcom ZPX. Essentially, what we do as engine programmers is we use Unreal, but we modify Unreal for the purposes of our game. So we have some special challenges posed by this game that we're making, the Dune game. And I cannot say too much about it, but yeah, we are modifying Unreal, the internals of Unreal to fit our game.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there are many bugs, it's partially my fault, I guess. But no, nothing like that.
I'll always blame the programmer.
Yeah.
First rule of design.
I always like to ask, what's your background in terms of what did you study, if you went to college, stuff like that, to see your progress and how you got into the gaming industry.
I actually studied English literature in college.
Really? Oh my God, that's really interesting.
I have a master's degree. I basically had a friend, an artist, who got a job at Microsoft. They needed testers, and it was paying a lot more than I was making at the time. So I kind of fell into that. I've always really enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons and games of that sort, and been making my own worlds and rules. So once I kind of got exposed to the industry and kind of realized what designers did, I just knew that's what I wanted to do.
Right. So for me, it's also a strange career, I would say, because I started by studying mechanical engineering, and yeah, I got the degree, didn't like it, and decided to move into game dev, which is something that I was already doing it in my free time, playing around with Unity and stuff like that. Probably many of the people here are familiar with this. And yeah, at some point I decided I'm already doing this in my free time. Let's try to make it my job. So then I went and did another bachelor's degree in DigiPen, which is a private American university for dev game, for game dev. Sorry, and yeah, and after that I got hired at Funcom ZPX, and I'm pretty happy there, doing engine stuff. So C++, study C++.
Great. So now I have a few questions that we prepared. So for Jason, I would like to ask you, how do you come up with a good game design? What are the secrets at being good at what you do?
If I tell you the secrets, then I'm out of a job. So no, the secret to good game design, I think it's just asking questions. Here's a very strange example. I have a niece. Some of you may remember the show My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic.
Yeah.
She loved My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. I have watched more My Little Pony than I would care to admit. So if you watch the show enough, they talk a little bit about the history of the ponies and sort of the thing, and there's it's implied that at some point they had to fight wars with other races. So the question is, how did My Little Ponies fight wars? So I have over time come up with a fairly intricate example
Yeah.
of how I think warfare would go out in My Little Pony world. And that's why I'm a designer, is because it's curiosity. It's asking those questions of, given this set of parameters, how do you make that in a game? What can you learn about that? What questions can you ask? How do you turn it into a game? For example, right now, if zombies burst into this building, what would everybody do? Right? Panic, run. But okay, we're in a nice little room here. We could shut the door. We could shove things into it. Then what?
Yeah.
And take one step further. How do you turn that into a game? What are the things that are important to the game? So obviously, it's a zombie game. We'd want have hit points, perhaps exhaustion, food, thirst. Okay, so how do we either escape? How do we fight back? What are the things that the player would want to do in that situation? Is PvP allowed? Can we, can I smack somebody in the head and throw them out the door as a distraction? These things are all possible. So it's asking it's asking questions of a situation, and then sort of just exploring those answers.
Yeah, building upon it,
Yeah.
asking questions. Okay, yeah, that was a great answer. So now, Benyat, so when programming your engine, do you update it based on your games and needed features, or just do you follow the trends of that game engine or of other game engines?
All right. So my answers are going to be less fun than Jason. It's more technical things. But so in the end, the engine is a tool to make a product, right? So you have to understand what product you're making and adapt the tool for that, right?
Okay.
So it's not the same thing to be working at Epic making Unreal Engine, which needs to be multi-purpose because people are going to make any type of game with it, than making a completely from scratch engine for a company to make one game or one type of game, right? Let's say I'm making racing. I know that my company is going to make only racing games, so I'm going to make an engine for that. So I'm going to target that, right? You don't want to be spending time doing things that you're not going to use, right? But at the same time, when you are at the engine level, you don't want to be too restrictive as well, because you have designers that change their mind quite often, and then if suddenly you have to redo a bunch of things because you didn't have the flexibility, that's not very good as well. So it's all about striking a balance, trying to be smart about the decisions you take, and try to make something that works well, is solid, and it's easy to use.
But it's also possible to be modular in a way of adding stuff in the future.
Yeah. So it's like all software development, right? You don't want to close your doors, right? So don't make something super close that if you need to modify something, you have to tear everything apart and start from scratch, right? You need to think, when you make your piece of code, you don't want to think, okay, does this work? That's not enough, right? If I want to modify it in the future, will it be easy, right? Can I reuse this piece of code for other things, or is it only usable for one specific thing? Like sometimes there's things that are very specific, but sometimes you want to fix a problem and you make this tool to fix the problem, and then you pause and you think, oh, this tool actually could be used for many other things. So I'm gonna slightly modify it so that if ever I have to use it for other things, it's already there, and I just have to grab it and use it. So that's how it works, I would say.
Nice, makes sense. Yeah. So for Jason, you were telling us that you are working on a team, and are you leading that team?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to ask you, what are some tips and tricks in a way to make sure that the communication is working and that everyone is doing what they're doing and that no one is stuck and that they can help them, because that's something here that we work as teams a lot of times, sometimes in shorter periods of time and sometimes longer period of times because we have bigger projects, and that's something always that we try to get better at. It's managing a team and making sure that no one is stuck.
I think for any team needs a leader. First off, it's great and egalitarian to have everybody be equals on a team, but it's also a very that also leads can lead to a lot of strife. If nobody is in charge, then uh, there's no way to make certain decisions. If you have a team of six and three people want X and three people want Y,
Yeah.
how do you make that decision? So I would say that first of all, make somebody the leader in some fashion. How you do it, I'm not sure, but whatever works. And then for the leader, the there's a couple key things. One is trust. As a leader, your team has to trust you. They have to know that you have. I'm speaking probably more from a corporate environment than from a game jam style environment. But they have to trust you. They have to know that you have their back, and that they um, and that when push comes to shove, you know you're the one who's going to field the problems. I always say that as a leader, my job is to make sure that my team has all the tools they need to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And so my job is to shield them from dumb things and make sure that they have that and have that what they need. And the second thing is to have a clear vision. Um, and a lot of that is just straight communication. So when I get a task that my team needs to do, I sit down with the team and say, "This is what we're doing, and this is why."
Yeah.
And always ask about if people have questions. I try to foster a very open environment in the team. So I say all opinions are equal, in that if everybody has thoughts on how the game can be better, feel for that everybody is free to come to me and give me their opinions.
Yeah.
I don't care who has an idea. If the janitor comes in and says this would be fantastic, I'll absolutely take that idea. I don't care where it comes from. But by communicating, speaking regularly to your team, both as a group and in one-on-ones, making sure they trust you and making sure they understand sort of what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing, that goes a long way towards making your team efficient. Communication is honestly one of the biggest problems in any company. Any group of people, I think any group of people bigger than two, there's going to be communication problems.
Yeah.
It's just par for the course. So the best you can do is try to alleviate that as much as possible within your sphere of influence. This is Dune is a very, very large project. So, and we have 5 or 6 directors. There's a creative director, then 5 or 6 other directors. And, we're working in multiple continents at this point. We have teams all over the world, different time zones, different sizes. It's like one team will be on vacation because it's a holiday in their country, and then you can't communicate with them. So, the sort of with the modern world, those communication problems are just magnified. So you just have to be that much more aware of how you talk to your team, how frequently you talk to your team, and sort of, the things you talk about.
Yeah, I agree that communication is something that we really try to make our best. Like I've gained some experience from doing jams and stuff like that, and that's something that I really started to notice that I need to make clear is our vision of the game. So that not everybody starts doing different stuff, and they're like, "Oh, that was not planned because someone thought that was the way that we should go." Yeah. So I have another question for Benya, which would be. So, does your job involve having contact with other teams, such as designers and artists? Which I think you already said yes, that sometimes you talk to designers and stuff like that.
Yes. So not as much, I would say, as other teams. We're a bit shielded, but we still have. I mean, as I said, right, we're modifying in this case Unreal Engine for a purpose, right, and that purpose is making this game the best as we can. And we don't like who's making the game. We have the gameplay team making gameplay things, and suddenly they stumble upon a problem and they cannot make the feature as good as they want because the engine is a bit rigid in that specific place. So they talk to us, and then we have a discussion, and then we decide on how to improve. So yes, we do have a lot of contact. For example, with gameplay team, with artists sometimes as well. We also, they are using um, tools to make, I don't know, the graphics of the game, and suddenly like something doesn't look the way they want it to look, and maybe the engine has something to do with it, and then we have to go and figure out a way to make it work, or maybe they can make it look the way they want it, but it's not performant enough, right? And we have to figure out a way to optimize it so that the game still runs fast and gives a good experience to the players. So yeah, we have a bit of contact. I obviously I cannot really compare because I haven't been in other teams, right? But I think that we are maybe a little bit more shielded than other game dev teams, but we still have a lot of contact, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and inside the engine, there's also we have more contact. Let's say inside of engine, there's different disciplines, right? Like rendering, I was talking about. It's very different to be a graphics engine programmer than to be someone that takes care of memory or someone that is taking care of physics. So there's a bit of specialization inside of the engine team, and obviously in those like specializations, in between those, there's a lot of communication going on. So yeah, but everything that he said about trying to reduce the communication problems also applies.
Also applies. Yeah. Nice. So will also ask you about knowledge. So what areas of work like database management, graphic integration, does someone in your area need to know about, like before going to the industry and stuff like that?
So, I mean, as I said, it depends on what you're going to specialize, right? There's people that really like rendering, and you might want to learn OpenGL, Vulkan, DirectX, right? And really dig into that, do shaders and be like optimizing stuff, and go read research papers about graphics programming and try to implement them, and then you will probably land a job in that, right? And you'll be specialized in that. You could be more generalist and just know how to make engines and have touched a bit of everything, and then you go in and then you can do whatever is needed, right? You've got people that are really into the networking part, like making things online, making sure everything works. Like there's a lot of specialities inside of engine, and it really depends on what your interests are.
Okay.
And nowadays in the internet, there's so much material that you can just go research, learn tutorials. There's, for example, for OpenGL, there's Learn OpenGL, which is very step by step, very easy to follow tutorial on how to make a rendering framework for 3D in OpenGL from scratch, just from C++. Yeah, for my particular position and the one my team is in, C++ is very important, and I think in general, for engine programming, C++ is the language to go for. I don't have that much experience. I'm still a junior, but in my short experience, all the engine programmers they work with C++. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. By the way, because we have a lot of people here that want in the future maybe to work in the industry and stuff like that. So it's always nice to hear what kind of they have to work on and stuff like that. So thank you. So for Jason, when designing characters or settings, do you have a clear picture of what they should look like, or do you let the artist decide on the appearance? Are you kind of more like, I want what they do, but you take care of how they look like, or do you have like a clear vision?
Both at different times. So it's let's like I don't know, for Horizon Forbidden Dawn, is that the name of the game? Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Horizon Zero
it's
Dawn.
behind us.
Oh yeah. So like for example, I might, if I was designing that game, I might come in and say, I want the main character to have these traits and to look like this, and then say, as for the dinosaurs, I don't care. They're the mechanical dinosaurs. Do what you like. And there's just going to be a variety. There's going to be a different levels of that depending on the actual thing. There might be a game where I don't honestly care that much, or don't really have an idea about what the characters look like. But it's like, hey, I want the mood of the game to be, it's green. I want green and and lightning. That's the mood of the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a terrible thing to hand
Yeah.
an artist because you're going to get anything. But it just really just depends on how on the game in particular, and just
Okay.
where I'm really focused on.
So, okay, makes sense. Let me see. So when you have to make like changes to your game because of design or stuff like that, how do you approach that? Because sometimes we have really clear ideas, and sometimes people are like, no, that doesn't make sense. How do you deal with that? Like having to change everything and having a clear set, but people are like, no, go the other way, something like that.
Well, I think that comes back to leadership and communication.
Okay.
There is a time for changes, and then there's a time for no changes.
Yeah.
In the beginning of a game, when you're starting a design, you're writing design documents, you're getting concept art done, stuff like that. It's open. Anybody, anything can be happen. Anything can be suggested. But as soon as we start tightening things down, then we have to plant plant firm stakes in,
Yeah.
so that, because I guess as Benyat said, I can't go to constantly to the program and saying, oh, okay, now we want this.
Mhm.
No, we have there's in the larger the project, the more difficult it gets. So there are, once a layer of gameplay is agreed upon, then, and you're moving on to that second layer, unless there's a phenomenally good reason, you cannot go back and start changing that first layer. It can happen. I mean, if you're working for, if you've got a publisher, they may come back and say, oh, by the way, we don't want robot dinosaurs for Horizon Zero Dawn. We want, mechanical kangaroos.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That may shift
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to change art. That may change how the combat works. There's all sorts of things that can change. But generally, at a certain point in the game, you just can't
Go back. Yeah.
you just really can't go back. Because it's all about time and money.
Yeah.
And you would never have enough of both. So
Yeah, makes sense. So let me see. Okay, so Benyat, so what advices do you have for people who want to go to programming engines or stuff like that? What are advice that you want, like they should focus right now on things that you work on?
All right. So for engine programming, and I think in general for even gameplay programming, and probably in general for every kind of game dev, but also other areas. The first thing is you should be learning constantly.
Mhm.
So you don't just get the degree and say, oh, that's it. Like I don't need to learn. Like I came to this company and to this position, and I found I needed to learn a lot of new things. Right? It's not. I had some knowledge from my background and my studies, but then you go there and suddenly there's this problem, and okay, we need to fix this. I don't know how to do that. Okay, but that you learn, and you have to read, you have to talk to people is really important, right? If you have the chance to be in teams with people that are more experienced than you, then you have to go and talk to them, ask them questions, and learn from them. That's, I would say, is number one. But obviously, if you're not yet hired in the company, as I said before, like there's plenty of material, there's plenty of things. Just do something that you like so that you can do it, right? Because obviously, if you force yourself into doing something that you don't like, you're gonna quit after, like, okay, you're gonna work 20 hours into something, and then you're gonna fight against yourself to try to force you to do it. But you have to find, okay, I want to do this project. It's gonna be a small project about this and that, and I'm gonna make this game multiplayer, right? And then you're gonna learn about how multiplayer systems work and how to make that work, and the problems that you will encounter there. That will all be learning experiences, and if you're having fun while doing that, and as you have, you'll keep learning, and that's like a very good way, because that's at some point, I mean, you guys are students and you will like probably to get hired into a gaming company, right? So I'm not part of the hiring process or anything like that, but what I can tell you is that, okay, like your diplomas and stuff, they only get you so far, and at some point you have to talk to the people and they will ask questions, and they will tell you, oh, like you're interested in game dev, like can you tell me about some things you've done, and then you can say, oh, I did this small project, and even if it's a crappy project, it doesn't matter. It shows that you have interest and probably you have learned from it. You can say, oh, I did this and it didn't work because of that, and that's interesting, and for them it shows that you're motivated, and that you keep learning and you challenge yourself. So I would say, just if you're really interested, just do small projects, do game jams. Game jams are a really nice thing to do. um, yeah, and like this guy, you can do it in C++, and then you learn about it, and that's amazing. So yeah, I feel that's the advice I can give.
Thank you so much. So I would like to ask our live audience, because we have a lot of people here today, if they have any questions.
I have a question. I'm interested on the game pipeline. Like, where do things start, and like, how does the game start? How does it come to exist? Like from the idea to the art to the game design. Like, does the game design come first and then the art? Like, how does it work?
Usually, it starts with alcohol. So no, some that may happen. No, it depends. Uh, it's it honestly it just really depends. If you happen to be the head of a company, you can decide to build whatever game you want. You may get hired to build a particular game, um, but typically, um, and honestly, a game can come from anywhere. A programmer can come up and say, "Hey, I just came up with this really cool, bit of code that does this."
Yeah.
Then you can, and as I said before, asking questions like, okay, figure out how to make that
An actual
viable.
game, yeah.
An artist can come up with a picture. A designer, can come up with a mechanic, or hey, I really like X game. It'd be cool to do that, but with these different twists.
Yeah.
So it can a game the initial idea can come from anywhere.
Anywhere.
Okay, and about the question about the art and the game design. Does the game design come first, or because you said sometimes you take the decision on how the game looks, so you give the concepts to the concept artists. Okay.
So again, another vague answer, but yeah, sometimes. Um, the I have worked on games where there was just a very vague. This was not the game in question, but hey, we want to make an underwater pirate game, and the big mechanic is that you're in submarines instead of ships. So it's that may go to concept art first, whereas as design is thinking about it, it may go to concept art first, and they may come up with a cast of characters, and you usually will get multiple different sets of concepts, and then that in itself may spark more innovation on the side of the game designers. Um, in my personal experience, typically there's the core idea of a game, that then sort of, once it's kind of been decided, okay, we are going to make um, a game about monkeys and catapults. Then at that point, all the leads get together and they discuss that. So I would talk to if I was the lead designer, I'd talk to the lead programmer, the lead artists, the head producer, everybody involved, and we discuss the idea. So I mean, again, communication. Everybody needs to be in the loop on everything. So again, it's kind of a vague answer. They just kind of happen. Like I said, and sometimes a company may come, a third party may come in and say, we have this IP. We need a game based on, Stranger Things or whatever property, comic books, whatever, and then you just work from there.
So, does anyone have?
Yeah.
You said that part of the job is always being enthusiastic and ready to learn.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you if there was any particular moment or problem that was particularly challenging for you and that you are proud of being able to solve it.
So I mean, one of the things is that at university I never learned about SQL and
Mm. Yeah.
and databases, and then I went there and suddenly I had to make a tool that would track the FPS performance of the servers. So the servers would send some information to our database, and then I had to display that in a nice graph. And I had no idea how to do that. Like it was like I had just joined the company as well, and they said, "Well, you'll figure it out. You can ask questions to this guy and stuff." And then that's what I did. Like I started asking a lot of questions. Like you don't have to be embarrassed to be bothering people a lot with questions. I think in the beginning, and you're asking questions. There's tutorials online. There's like maybe other examples. In this case, there was an example. So someone had done another graph for something different, but I could look at the SQL code behind it and understand how it was done. And then I did something that was working. It's still being used today. Uh, Probably it's not the best thing ever, but it's being used, and it solved the problem that we needed to be solved, and I learned something. So yeah, for sure, you do learn, and but it's not only that. That was like one uh, particular example, but then there's other things. Other things. There's like something is oh, you can hear. Oh, okay, okay. I
Okay, you can repeat.
Yeah. So
Uh,
the question was he was asking me, what's your name? Eduardo was asking me that because I was talking about being constantly ready to learn of a particular example that happened to me in which I had to learn inside of the company. So that's what I was answering. And yeah, but I would say, like, for example, we have I believe like most companies have that inside of the company. We have a lot of documentation, right? We have things that are similar to Wikipedia, in which there's a lot of design stuff, but there's a lot of technical stuff as well, and there's a lot of we have technical documents. We have things that teach you how to use specific systems that we developed for a game, right? And you have to be there and read those things and understand. And sometimes people even made nice tutorial videos that you can watch. And so that's also part of the experience, right? It's not like, oh, I don't know how to do that, I'm not gonna do it. No, like, right, search. Maybe there's already documentation inside of the company. If there's not, then look online, try to find YouTube videos or whatever. Just talk to people. That's one of the most important one. And yeah, that's what I meant. Like, you have to be ready to be learning constantly.
uh,
I have actually kind of a similar question for both of you. If there's any specific product or game in this case that you've worked on that you are particularly proud of, or if you feel like you've learned a lot in, and if you'd like to share, because I feel like those stories are also always a lot of fun.
so repeating the question in case you guys didn't hear, Paul is here and he's asking us them if they have any game or project that they worked on and that they are really proud of.
You want to go first? Okay, I can go first. Um, so game jams are always nice. That's first
Yeah.
thing I'm gonna say. Um, I made a small game in a global game jam, like a 2 day game jam. On Unity, I had already used Unity, but I had forgotten most of it and stuff. And like, we were able with two people to finish a game. It wasn't an amazing game, but the reward was a lot, because finishing a product. It had even like Easter eggs on the main menu and everything.
Nice.
Like it was cool. But yeah, and then, and obviously, so I learned a lot about Unity and about how to complete a game from start to finish in a jam context in that one. But then the other one that I did in the context of my studies, uh, we did a one year project. It was the first game engine that I did. I was not alone. We were a team. I believe we were seven people. There was artists as well, but I think we were five programmers. I mean, the numbers are blurry in my mind, so don't it doesn't matter. But like, suddenly there's like, okay, you have to make a game engine in C++ from scratch, to make a 2D game, and we had no idea how to do that. We looked at each other and we're like, where do we even start? Like, where do we even start? And the way we started was watching YouTube videos. So we found YouTube videos about people doing the same and explaining how they were doing. So at first we started like following them, and then once we started understanding, and also we asked questions to people that had already made small engines and stuff like that, and we discussed a lot between themselves. And then at some point, we didn't even need to watch the YouTube videos again anymore, because we had the knowledge enough in C++ to I mean, C++ you also always learn, but what I mean is it was enough to go onwards, and that's what we did. And we actually completed a 2D game by ourselves. And like the guy, there was one guy that had to learn graphic programming with OpenGL. The guy had never done anything like that, and he just said, we just looked at each other and he said, okay, I'll do it. And he was like, okay, he was researching on his own, following this Learn OpenGL website, which is quite detailed and quite well explained. And we did it. So it was hard work, but we learned a lot. I think that's the single project in which I learned the most, I would say.
So yeah, the project I think I'm most proud of, there's a game called, my biggest game is called Supreme Commander. I was an RTS. I was the campaign designer, which basically meant that I did everything associated with campaigns, with a single player game. The units were designed by other people. How they fought, their weapons, how they moved, was all designed by other people. But I was responsible for taking all that and building the single player campaign. So everything from when did the player get specific units, what did the maps look like, where were the bases on the maps, what was the story being told, just everything literally to do with the single player campaign I did. I was fairly junior at the time, and the entire thing was A, a lot of fun, and B, a massive learning experience. Because I had never had that degree of responsibility in a game before. And, basically at the company at that time, the lead designer was busy doing other things, and it was just kind of like, nope, here you go. So, I kind of got thrown into that. I had to talk to artists, I had to talk to programmers, I had to figure out, how big should a map be? I mean, just very fundamental questions about the single player game that I'd never really had to do before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Supreme Commander is generally regarded to be one of the top 10 RTSs of all time. And the single player campaign is pretty well regarded. So yeah, it was an incredibly difficult at times, often frustrating experience, but that prepared me so much for the rest of my career. Because of just the sheer amount of stuff I had to do on that. So yeah, I'm very very pleased, very very proud of the work I did in Supreme Commander and the expansion pack.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone has any other questions. You have another question?
I can keep going because that answer is actually pretty interesting, because with the development being parallelized, so it's happening everything at the same time. Like, how did you start? Because I'm assuming the units were being developed at the same time. So how do you start preparing a campaign where you don't have a complete idea of what the units and what? I guess you're developing the story, but what the actual gameplay is going to be, or was that already defined? Was it?
Well, I mean, it was more or less already defined. The actual moment to moment gameplay of the combat, how the units moved, hit points, all that stuff was largely decided at that point. So that wasn't. I didn't have to really deal with that, and there were people who were dedicated to making the combat as good as possible. Yeah, I'm sorry. Does that actually answer your question? Or
More or less, because I was assuming that the combat was being developed by someone else. So how do you work if your work is dependent on that work that is currently still being developed, for example?
yeah, honestly, a lot of playtesting. As things are developed, I did a lot of playtesting just to get a feel for all the units, and then sort of making my best guess on what made interesting, like unit reveals, which units you got on a map, and which units they would be facing. And as I learned of new things, units changing and units. New units coming in, maybe old units being taken out, and having to adapt on the fly to those. So honestly, at the end of the day, it's playtesting. It's just knowing the units as best as you can, and making very good guesses occasionally on how things would work.
So we don't have any more time for questions. So right now, I'll ask you guys to play two games that we made during the jam. So look, so, one game because yeah, we kind of got excited with the questions. So let me just open and screen share the game because I don't think I'm screen sharing. Yeah. So this jam we had the team was divided, and we had 8 games made. And one of the things that we really wanted people to do in this jam was to try new engines, because we usually just use Unity. So we asked people if they wanted to use different engines, and so we had 2 games made in Godot, two or three games, and we had 1 game made in Unreal, and that's I know. A second. Let me just. So we had 3 games made in. I don't know why this is beeping, but sure. We had 2 games made in 3 games in Godot and 1 game in Unreal. And I'm gonna show you guys the game in Unreal. If this opens, because this is kind of struggling. Okay.
Unreal 4 or Unreal 5?
So it was Unreal 4 or 5?
5.
So it was Unreal 5. So if you guys want to start, so it's technically like a,
Whoops.
so I don't know. Let me see.
That's the designer's job. I break things.
No, that's QA.
It's gonna beep again.
No, I have to break it first, and then they figure out it's broken.
Let me see. Let's hope he doesn't die again.
It says alive, so this will be fine.
I don't know why it's not working. So yeah, I'll probably just show you guys the other game. Like this is kind of dying for some reason. So the other game. So this
The
game.
first time it crashed without you touching anything.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's because when the antivirus is scanning it, it runs it, and then you have to leave it scanning, or deactivate the antivirus. And if you leave it scanning, at some point it will say, okay, this is fine, and then it will open again, and this time it will not close. But I think you're closing the antivirus every time, and you're not letting it stop. Continue.
Yeah.
So this is actually a good example of one of the primary adages of game design or game development, is that it works until you try to show it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Live
Without
demos-
fail.
But we had
risky.
people playing like yesterday night after submission, and I'll stream it. Was working fine.
With this PC?
Not
Yeah,
that
no,
PC.
with this PC, it's fine.
So we're trying this one now?
I
Yeah.
know.
So
Okay.
we're gonna
There
try
were
this
some
one.
other very crappy PCs playing that game and it ran fine and it worked fine.
Okay, so
Okay.
So I don't know.
Nope. Okay, but it's working. It's not that.
Discord isn't
Okay, so
cooperating.
so this team used the divided team by making a game that you're playing technically a platformer and then one style like 3/4 Pokemon style game at the same time. So these are holes here, and here they don't make anything. So the perspective here is changed. So it's walking like this, and if I show you, like, he dies here because those are holes, and here.
So I'm supposed to play both characters at the same time.
Yeah, or you can play together too.
Oh,
Okay.
To play again. That's cool.
Just move this.
So I have the bottom character.
Who did the art, or is that?
So I can check. Did the art? Fact check me.
Sorry.
Pedro, who did the art? The art. Art.
Why did we? Ah, yeah, you lost because you
Oh, okay.
fell there.
Okay, so Beatriz Bernardino is one of our newbies, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And she did the art for this game.
Leave
No,
it
I
there.
did-
Leave it there. Leave it there. You can already jump, yeah.
So the objective is to get both to the green thing.
No, the characters look really good.
Nice. I like the idea. Next level.
It reminds me a little bit of Three
Press the
Vikings.
button.
Yes,
Oh,
so
to
you
make a
press the
path, so you can go there. Now you have give me the boxes.
Yeah, that's
You press the button. You push it all the way and then you can push it down. Wait, sorry, I forgot to push the button. Where's the line in the middle?
So the line in the middle, basically when they get really far apart, the screen splits because they are bigger levels, so you can see where both characters are at the same time.
Ah, nice. You saved the day.
the collision with the blocks is kind of fiddly.
Yeah, especially with the hat. I think the hat sometimes, like the hat, if the hat is a little bit off, it kind of does.
Nice. Yeah, that's enough. No.
And yeah, yes, because I've gone too far down, I can't pick it back up.
You can bring the second one. It's fine. You can bring the second. No,
No?
a bit more. Yeah. No, 1 pixel more. Yeah, that's it. Yay.
Nice.
Shift slower.
What's the point of working slower? Maybe
No.
we'll discover it. All right, that's good.
So where we actually need to go?
So this character is the only character that can press buttons, and you have a button here.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I need
Probably have
another
to go
box.
there.
Yeah, that's enough, maybe.
I am the box delivery person.
Yeah, that's it.
See, if you guys get really
Yeah.
far
Yeah,
apart,
that's
it
cool.
kind of splits the screen too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, but I cannot go there, right? I will die.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to make a path with boxes.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, first the button, but a bit more. Thank you. That's enough.
You can
Cool.
probably also like put the character on top, and then the other character pushes it. Maybe.
Oh, can we do that?
I don't know.
Can you
Try.
push this box? Try to push it. Oh, it works. I don't need to.
Don't fall. Maybe that's the shift. Like.
Well,
for-
I think if you
not
touch
fall.
the dark, we lose.
No.
No.
It's
just
only
me.
You. It's only
Yeah,
you.
just
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
yeah.
I can touch the dark.
That's a very narrow.
I think it's fine. You can just go right. Go for it.
Go for it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I have to press that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I can't
for
push you-
going
I cannot
up,
push you
have
up.
to jump. And
There we
push,
go.
yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, that's it. Let me go back to my. That's it.
I feel like I'm doing all the work here.
Yes. He is doing all the work. That's
Okay,
right.
jump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot.
One more.
Takes one.
All right.
Okay, jump. One more.
Nice.
That's,
Close.
here we go. Well, okay, move to your right a little bit.
Oh, nice.
Not a lead game designer for nothing.
I think I can reach.
Yeah, you can just jump.
Nice. All right, there's a button there and another one. The button.
Okay, so I can't get into the
The dark.
dark.
You can probably put a box right at the edge here, and I can jump like this. Oh, that's the end. Well, it might work. And for this one,
Well, that's the end. So it suggests that we need to go to that one first.
not guaranteed, but could be. Could be. I'll follow your lead. You're the.
After my
designer.
bragging earlier, you're going to be like, no, you do you.
You can place it at the edge of your reach, I guess, and then I will have
Well,
to.
can you jump up from there?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll try and take. No. Okay, jump up. Try that.
No,
Nope.
not enough.
Yeah. Reset.
Maybe at the edge, a bit more to the left. Maybe a bit right now. Alright, I can try it.
Nice.
All right. What did this open?
The passage here. You guys can go there.
Okay. So I think you have to jump down.
Yep. Can I? I don't see what's under my feet right though. Can you come closer to me so I can? No. Nice.
Just trust.
Oh,
It
nice.
worked.
It worked.
Okay, now I need to get into the box. Oh, put it. Can you put it to the right? I can do a yeah, and then now a bit more down. A bit more. Yeah, that's it. That's it. No, I touched the pixel with the point of my boot.
So, if you guys have any like more tips or something about the game, so because we have to wrap it up.
Okay. Like I said, I do really like the character art. They're very detailed for the size they are. The pushing the boxes, the mechanic of not being able to touch the dark for my character it's interesting. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that it's a bit fiddly.
Yeah.
It's tricky to get things. I think the controls need to be a bit more precise, which might be a little bit much for a game jam. What do you think about and honestly this it feels like the 90% of the gameplay is on my character.
Yeah.
So
I screwed it. I screwed it. Yeah, I was going to say that as well. It feels like you're doing most of the work, and and I'm screwing up. Yeah, but it's fine. I like the idea of having two people help each other, having different mechanics and different. It's hard to talk at the same time, but it's a cool idea. Yeah, it reminds me a bit of Trine. And that's cool. I think the characters could be a bit bigger, yeah, as you said, the physics. I mean, I'm not experiencing the physics. The physics for the platforming, I guess, are fine. Maybe the ones for the pushing seem to be a bit more fiddly. Yeah, but it's nice. It's nice.
yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it plays very well for a game jam. It does remind me a little bit of Three Vikings. It's an old Blizzard game, side scroller. Same basic idea, except you had three Vikings, and each one had a very particular idea, very particular skill, puzzle based. Again, yeah, I honestly think this game really works. I'm very impressed, especially for a game jam game. I would maybe suggest that I would give. Do the characters have names? Just out of curiosity.
No, I don't think
Is
so.
there's
I don't think so.
It's made by programmers that don't name.
Yeah.
characters.
So there's my character will be called Hat, and his character will be called Wizard.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
Original.
think Hat. Again, I think the majority of the gameplay is on Hat at this point. What I would suggest is Wizard maybe have one or two spell-like abilities that they can use. Maybe one ability enables him to banish part of the darkness for a limited period of time, and then so he casts, and then I have to go through that to get to an area. That could be a good use if there were enemies, which may be in later levels, some sort of attack spell, or using go sort of portal, and like so if he can banish the darkness, but he can also create darkness. So maybe the objective is to get the enemies to jump into the darkness that he creates, which would be good, which would be nice and thematic in its own way. Yeah, but that's my only real criticism is this just the division of labor here. Um, so in Benyat's perspective, the hat is the programmer and Wizard is the designer, because the Wizard is just like make things happen. And
He's solving all the puzzles, and I'm just like doing some platforming from time to time.
yes,
And failing at doing so as well.
so
I have to say that I'm impressed by the camera mechanic.
splitting,
The
yeah.
splitting, that's really cool. That's cool. I wonder how it's done. Like it sounds interesting to make. But the game like, it's an interesting idea. I think it has potential to if you're willing to work on it more, or if you just I don't know if you just want to leave it as is, but there's potential to make a little project out of it that could be fun.
So thank you so much for your time, and we'll be back in a few seconds with some more speakers. So yeah, I'll see you later.
All right.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you. So welcome back, gamers and developers, and we are here with other two speakers. So this time from Miniclip, we have Bernardo and we have Joana. Big round of applause. I always like to ask, what is your current position in Miniclip, and basically what you do? Like, what is your job? You can start, Bernardo.
Okay, I'll start it. So I'm currently a QA engineer. I started out as a junior QA. My main roles is, as you know, trying to break stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like the last frontier between the game in development and the final customer, right? So it is my responsibility to make sure that every feature that I'm currently working on is working as expected. And obviously, it's my interest to also as a gamer, I want to play things that work, and so it's basically very summed up what I do. Trying to break stuff, communicate that to developers. This needs to be fixed. They do their work. I try to break again. Sometimes it's still broken, and yeah, it's this cycle. Yeah.
As for me, I'm a senior 2D artist. I also do some animations and basically do the pretty look or try to fit the style of the game, depending on how pretty you consider the games. But yeah, basically I started a mid artist, 2D artist at Miniclip 3 years ago. And yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. So nice. So now the next question is always your background, like kind of what did you study, if you went to college, stuff like that.
Okay. I studied here in Technico. Yeah.
Nice.
I actually started in Alameda. I was doing electrical engineering, Técnico. Gave up after 1 year and moved here to industrial engineering and management.
Yeah.
Did the masters, and eventually I gotta keep this short because otherwise I won't shut up. Yeah, I did the masters, but I didn't straight away work in our industry. I actually took a year off. I went to Australia and did a bunch of stuff there. Came back and did some freelancing work on translations. Like 2-3 years on translations. My first contact with video games was actually translating video game.
Nice.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to end up with some pretty cool games. I worked on No Man's Sky, on Neo, yeah, and even Returnal, which I actually just finished last week.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually that's I ended up in Miniclip. Yeah.
How about you, Joana?
For me, well, I'm from Luxembourg, so I came here to Portugal to study in fine arts, in Faculdade de Belas
That's
Artes.
actually- yeah.
But I tried animation and that was my goal. But then after the fine arts, I actually got my first job in game art in ZPX,
Yeah.
the previous talk. It was only like 6-7 months, and then I went to work in Luxembourg and Barcelona. And then I came here 3 years ago, but I used to work in animation, in background designs. I also taught some painting in traditional art and digital art. And yeah, right now I just ended up here as a game artist and animator. I feel like animation is following me kind of. So now it's like the best of both worlds, the gaming and animation. I got it.
Nice. Perfect. So I have a few questions. So, Bernardo, what is like your process of evaluating like the quality of the game and fixing like what is like your ritual, I guess?
Yeah, so again, could be a very long answer. I'll try to keep things short. So evaluating quality, there are sometimes objective things. It's not just my opinion on what's called. There's explicit things that are decided beforehand, like what is the expected behavior of this? Like, if I click this button, what should it do? Should it go back to the menu? Should it start a match? Whatever. And so there's also this expression, the happy path. We have to, as QAs, we have to ensure that the happy path works. The happy path is like the easiest way to trigger an expected behavior. Enter a match, wait 10 seconds, and start gameplay, for instance. Okay, I tested the happy path, it's great. What happens if I press the button and instead of 10 seconds, after 2 seconds, I quit the app, for instance. Will it break?
Yeah.
Once I open, will it go back? So that's my process. It's always to, okay, we have to ensure that the easy flow, the happy path, works. And then I have to think a bit outside the box. I compare the QA job a lot to kind of being an investigator. Like, we have to think of everything that the developers and the game designers didn't think of ways to break the game. And so for me, a quality product is one that, aside from the expected happy path flow, is also prepared for the unforeseen flows, like the things that speedrunners love to do and exploit in games. In a perfect QA world, we wouldn't have like the Super Mario 64 speedruns that we have, but it's a good thing they exist because they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So bugs are also can be a good thing.
Fun.
Yeah, can be fun in the game. Yeah.
Nice. So for Joanna, how does it work? Like, as an artist, I also do art. So yeah. So I think something that I always struggle with is kind of matching my art style with other people and kind of having like a clear vision. Yeah. What do you have like some tips for that? Like, how do you get to this clear vision and make sure that your art is matching what everyone else is doing?
Well, I could answer that
Yeah.
for hours. Well, but let's put it this way. At least if you wanna get into video games, you have to actually study very well the art that you're getting into. And I speak as a 2D artist, but the 3D artist or the concept artist also do that. Maybe the UI is kind of more free, but not as much though. But you have to analyze very well the art, first of all. You have to analyze a bit also how the character, a bit of the design of the game too, but you have to try to match your style, and the more you study art, the more you'll be able to be like, how do you say, you'll be able to match more styles. So if you only know how to draw like very realistically, obviously you won't be able to get into video games, or you can do like a specific or work in a specific niche of video games. It depends on what you want, actually. It depends on what your purpose is as an artist. If you want to be like a generalist and be able to solve all the problems, you can do that. At the same time, try to follow what you like, because it gives you an extra motivation. For example, as for my personal experience, I was learning a year or 2 years ago. I started learning Spine. I don't know if you know about the software. Spine is the software that we use in mobile games to animate. So it's like it's kind of a cutout animation program software, but it's more advanced. It's not like only the puppet thing.
Yeah. Okay.
We have some. If you go to YouTube and type how to learn Spine, you get like a bunch of different styles of tutorials and stuff like that. You have to find something that motivates you, because I'm into like sparkly 2D shiny little things and pink. If I do something more like into gore, I'll probably won't push myself that hard, you know. So try to follow the style that you like. You can try to be able to open up your horizons and match other styles, and maybe you'll figure out that you actually like it. It happens too. But to learn the processes and the ability to, how do you say, to be able to work in all the styles, try to follow something that you like first. And then once you get it, because the technical aspect of it or the anatomy or whatever, open up little by little. Because if you jump in the middle of everything with so many things to learn, perspective, anatomy, the color, you'll get overwhelmed, you'll cry under your bed, and that's it. So take it slow. We have time. It's not. Sometimes I hear artists say, "Oh, I started when I was like 40." 40 is not late. You can start at any time. You just have to put on the work, and that's it. So if you want to match a style, put on the work. And if you get somebody to criticize and give you feedback, that's the best thing ever.
Thank you.
Hope
That was
that
great
helps.
advice. Yeah, great advice. Yeah, thank you. So for Bernardo, so there's your job until finding bugs, which you already said. So do you trigger them on purpose, or do you just go with the flow, or do you have some things that you're like, oh, this is a checklist of common bugs, and I'm gonna test this first?
So if I didn't try to trigger them on purpose, I wouldn't be doing my job correctly. It's a fun thing because I've been asked like how like as a QA, like you're playing a game, like don't you get tired of the game, like? And I don't really, it doesn't bother me to, because there are two mindsets. When I play a game at home, for instance, I try to play the game to win, right? I'm trying to be entertained, to have fun. Not that there's not a fun component in the work, but I'm not trying to win a game, unless that's the feature, like check if you win doesn't break. Yeah, I'm trying to see if it works. So, at home, in a 2D side scroller, I will go forward because that's how we're conditioned since Super Mario Brothers came out. At work, the first thing I will do is go left.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, what will happen? Will the character disappear? So, I try first and foremost, kind of repeating myself, do the happy path, and then always try to come up with weird ways that other people didn't think about breaking game. Part of my job currently is also automation, so very repetitive tasks, like what will happen if I go against this wall a million times, right? Because sometimes it takes 500 times until a bug triggers. Who knows why? But sometimes that's what happens. Instead of me doing, I will create a script for that, like just go forward, while I keep doing other stuff. Which goes hand in hand with kind of my workflow. So I don't know if I answered the entire question.
I think we did. And for me, it was actually interesting you saying a script to write. Because that was something that I was thinking, no, you wouldn't go against the wall that many
exactly,
times.
Exactly.
You do something,
That's actually a lot, like kind of the QA and QA engineer part. As a junior, I had zero experience in the video games industry, apart from the translation stuff. And I learned a lot about scripting. I had zero experience in that. I had some academic experience with programming language, SQL. I had done that in the database, the courses here. But I had a lot of good mentors, a lot of good colleagues who helped me out, and that's part of the job, right? So for easy stuff that I can simply do tapping, sure. For more repetitive tasks, like do something a lot of times, or even just checking if all the menus are working, which would take maybe 2 minutes, can take 10 seconds. That's pretty much a lot of the thing I do. Functional, so the checking manually, and the more technical part, the automation part, the scripts, that stuff.
So now, Shona, something that I'm always really interested about is portfolio. So what do you feel like for the gaming industry it's important you have in your portfolio?
I'm going to repeat myself, but it depends of what you want to do, what games are you into, or you want to try to get into, and the industry. Because in games, you have the mobile game industry, you have the AAs, you have even board games. So it really depends. What I can give, it's a general answer, which is if you want to go to work to Miniclip or ZPX or whatever, study well the games that they have, study very well, and check the style. The mistake I did a lot of times and still do is I'll put my stuff that I think it's good, and they'll have to see I can do the tasks they need based on my stuff. That's a big mistake. We can see if you have the foundation, for example. We can see if you can get into different styles. You can see if you have an anatomy correct. You can see the perspective, blah blah blah. But at the same time, to get the handle of a style, a specific style for a game that a guy is hiring to start tomorrow, if you have to ask for an extra 3 or 4 months of adaptation to fit the style of the game, he's losing money. So the best advice I could give is, if that's your dream to work in a specific company, imagining adding some new backgrounds, some new characters, some new stuff for the game that already exists, showing that you can match actually the game, and even can have some new extra ideas. And in that sense, also showing your skills based on the 2D, 3D animation, whatever. The more stuff you have, the better. Depends on the industry. In AAA, for example, they like very specific portfolios. For example, you have like, you can be a rigger only. Rigger in the mobile games, for example, the more tools you have, the best. If you are a 2D, a 3D artist, an animator, you are the jewel. Everyone will want you. It really depends of what you want, and that's the hardest part, I think, to figure out what you want.
Yeah.
At least for me, it was.
It's always.
It is, right? And we're never sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When you're in your 50s, you still don't know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So it's kind of targeting in a way like this is what I want to do, and building your portfolio based on that.
Yeah, and start it, and then you can develop and learn new things, but never stop wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Never. That's like the biggest mistake. Like, okay, I know everything, so I can just like now jump and ask for more money. No, don't do that.
So thank you so much. Bernard, I would like to ask you if you have any tips for us for testing our games. Because it's something that we always like, we found a lot of bugs and we kind of have like a long process of finding them.
Yeah.
Like, how do we even find them?
Okay, interesting question. So, for instance, for game jams where time is of essence, I actually would say don't worry about it. Obviously, right? Because you want to have the game working and all that. So, in that case, don't worry about it. But if you're trying to aim for a more final product, right? It's very easy to fall in a trap where you're too focused on the things that you do and on the things on what you're doing specifically, and that specific thing works, and you start to have this funnel vision. And so it might be a weird thing, but my first suggestion would be to don't work alone. You may be working on something like on a specific task, but if you're part of a team, eventually you have to ask that person to, okay, check it out. What do you think? Try it out. Try out this game. Because even myself as a QA, I'm sometimes like really proud, like, oh, this feature is bulletproof. It's perfect. I arrange a testing session that we do with designers and people from other departments. And then they point out really obvious things. Like, I'm a QA. Like, how didn't I find that? Like, it's embarrassing. And it's usually like visual stuff, minor, but it's still something. And so that's, I feel that's one of the most important things, is to, regularly check in with other people, because you alone one person alone cannot ensure that the project, that the feature, that the game is like fine-tuned to everything.
Yeah.
So ask for help, ask people's opinions, your family, your partner, your dog, whatever. Yeah. It's very important because they are not biased. They are not biased, and they will see things that for you are not obvious. I think that's more or less the main thing. Other stuff is like, as a developer, you have this mindset of, again, making sure that your specific task works, like building the level, making sure that the collision is correct. But let's not forget, I'm gonna make stuff up. Let's not forget about, is the character looking all right? Like, maybe, like, is the art correct? Like, if I move her, if I do a double jump, is the character still, or did the double jump break? So stuff like that. Like, keep it short. Like, ask for feedback as regularly as you can, and when you're done with your task, try to make sure that some small things are covered. You cannot find every single thing. That's the first point. Again, ask for help. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, we have a lot of sometimes Technique here hosts some events where we can test our games, and we always try to have, especially our long-term projects, we always try to make new builds and stuff like that, so we can show the new features and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's always great to see what people think and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's also great for stuff like UI and stuff like that, to see if without explaining, the person can get what it has to do and
That is
where.
the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, yeah, that we don't have to explain the
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, that's always great. So, Joanna, I have another question, which would be how much of the design process in terms of putting yourself, your own art into a project, like deciding stuff, and do you get to do? Like decide, choose where the game is going in terms of art.
Depends on the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my case, we get some creative liberty in some stuff, but we always have to match the games. Sometimes when we get new games to start, we have like the session of the create the concepts, and then it goes back and forth with the PMs and stuff. But in general, it's quite open. The fun thing, and I think it's going to be fun to mention this here, it's when you have to deal with the devs. Because it's always like both have to be very creative, not artistically creative, but to solve the issues, solve the problems. So it's not only about the creativity of the art, maybe, or the animation, not specifically, which we kind of have, even though we have to follow always the style, and it depends on the project. There's some more projects that are more closed up, so we have to stick with that style. And there's others that maybe have the openness to go back and forth. But mainly with the devs and the artists, we always have to find out to resolve issues. So we have to try out some different exports, a different size, or now it's your turn to try to change a bit the code to see if we match it.
The
so that's the
technical
fun
part of it, right?
Yeah, and it's frustrating and fun at the same time. I
Yeah.
don't know how to say that.
When you see the final result, like it was worth it.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes like it takes, I don't know if it happens to you, but it takes like 2 days of work for a stupid little thing to fight the bug. And it's
Yes.
it's because you forgot a zero, or it's
Yeah.
because there's 1 pixel. Oh, we have a drama with 1 pixel at some games.
It's enough to stop an entire workflow.
But yeah, it's. I think it's fun. It's creative, but at the moment it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Hope that answered your question.
Yes. Thank you. Makes sense. I don't know if anyone here has any questions.
I can have one question. We in GameDev Técnico, we have several long-term projects that normally have several phases of development. And my question is more from now the part of bug testing and Q&A testing. How it should adapt to each phase. For example, if we are early in the project, what should we go testing for? In the middle, what should we go? Or late, almost like publishing the game, what should we be careful of?
Usually we work in a very agile environment. Agile, like the methodology, not literally. It's related, but yeah. And so there are specific like phases for things, right? Like something's like a task is in progress. It goes to code review. All peers watch it, and then it goes to testing. There's a lot of back and forth, right? Usually, sometimes I can already help developers while they're developing the feature, like to be aware of this scenario, be aware of this flow. Even even if everything is done like by the book correctly, like everything's tested, no bugs were found or were found and were dealt with. Right before the deadline, there's always stuff. And that's the thing. Like we're humans, we're not perfect, and it's sometimes really hard to. If it was an easy thing to answer, then there wouldn't be faulty products, games with bugs, right? It's more difficult than people realize because there are so many intertwining systems. The more complex a game is. So what you can do to kind of offset that is just be very disciplined, like be very aware. Don't I have a colleague that says this, and I agree. Don't trust no one. Like don't trust QAs, and QAs don't trust devs. The devs, they will throw you this feature and it's foolproof. Oh yeah, it's broken. Because if you trust them, that you're already biased. So yeah, like in a friendly way. I'm not saying don't trust them because they're evil. Don't trust the work in a respectful and in critical thinking way, because you will always find in all stages of the project some issues. Later on, at the beginning, doesn't matter. As long as you're disciplined, as long as you talk and have initiative and be proactive. I think that's a lot of. Most issues wouldn't happen if people were more proactive. Like as soon as they have an issue, don't keep it to yourself, or I'll remember to tell the devs this in a week, and then you'll forget it. So be proactive. Once you find something, if you can't tell them right away, write it down, a list of all the issues, and talk with all your colleagues, and then we can minimize issues.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, so we don't have any more questions from our live audience. So we will be now playing 2 games. One game was made during this jam, which then was divided. And this is kind of like a platformer puzzle where, yeah.
Okay.
So technically, this game is basically, the screen is split half, and you'll be playing a puzzle, and the controls are the same on both sides.
Okay.
So I can show you guys. So if you jump, it jumps on both sides, but the puzzle is different.
Yeah, like the platforming is different. Interesting.
So if you,
No, you go first. You start. You do the mistake. You're the cute.
I'll look bad. All right. So, spacebar is jump. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So now I have to look down. Okay. Yay.
So this was.
Oh, interesting. I see. But both have to like touch at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
So you kind of have to block
Yeah.
the path.
So something like this.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Now you go.
Now that it's harder.
Thank you.
That was intentional.
Okay, let me see. So,
Very interesting idea.
so I'll have to jump there, but no.
You almost well, you kind of have it.
Damn it! Oh God.
No, you kind of have it. Yeah.
Okay, and now, ooh la la. Oh,
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's really cute, the game. man.
Oh.
Come on.
It's an insane maze. Yeah.
Maze.
Please help me.
Do you want to take turns like you
Okay,
play
you
half?
try now, and
Okay.
then I'll try.
Okay. Oh, this is scary.
I can try to
Oh,
give
man.
you help.
Oh. My God.
Mm.
Okay, so.
This is really cute.
Oh,
no.
did I break?
No. It's just my antivirus that doesn't like our games.
And even the animation is really like it's very dynamic. Yeah,
Yes,
like.
it
very
is.
cute.
And the background animation is not disturbing, and it's
So
actually
I
very
kind of
sober.
have to. Like, now I'm focused on the guy on top, but eventually I need to see where the guy
But
in the
that
bottom
one's
goes.
simpler, so it's. I think it's a good way.
Yeah. Okay, I don't want to fall.
Well,
All the way
fall and
down.
Go to the left.
Yeah. All right.
For me, something really interesting in this game, because it's kind of like more of a behind the scenes thing, is that these are the sprites of the game, right?
Yeah.
And this is a filter
Oh.
applied in Godot. So
Okay.
it's the same sprites, but since you apply an invert filter, it looks like different sprites.
Nice. That's really.
So it's half the work.
That's really good.
Good, yeah,
That's
it's really smart.
good.
So
Very-
now I'm focused. Do you want to?
No. No, you can. But question. This was this game jam you said.
Yeah, so they started last Friday and they delivered yesterday. So a week.
That's
Like
really
the art
well
is
thought.
really cool.
Yeah. It's really well thought actually.
Okay.
Do you guys have like a pre-timing to kind of prepare the project, or you can only start thinking about it when you start doing
So technically we can
Oh,
only
is
start.
there a double jump? No. No double jump.
So technically we can only start the Friday really because Friday is where the theme was announced and also the themes.
Okay.
Yeah, some of us kind of had some ideas of what we wanted to do. Nice.
You're almost there.
Oh my god.
Now
No,
it's
I'm
really cool that you have this.
This game is making me
Yeah.
look bad. Let me try again.
Well, you're doing way better than I would, so that's fine.
Third time is a charm, right?
Yeah, you can do
Okay.
it. Oh, yeah.
You go.
If you can't.
You go.
Okay, I'll start very badly. Okay,
There you go.
I'll
No.
run kind of. Oh, I'm so useless. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
I'm not used to playing with the PC. I'm like.
You guys are
typical-
evil. Like the third game is already like extreme levels of difficulty.
Alright. Okay.
Right? Are there more levels?
Oh shit.
Yeah, there are, I think, 3 or 4 more levels.
Oof.
But I feel like the difficulty was bumped. Very
There's a
quickly,
difficulty
right?
spike in this
Yeah.
level
Yeah.
for sure. That last jump is evil,
Which
man.
is good, but not for me since I'm a bit useless at this. But do you guys have testing sessions after the game jam?
Yeah.
Game nights.
Yeah.
Cool, that's really nice.
We have so every other Tuesday, kind of gaming nights.
Oh,
and if-
weekly then.
Yeah. So if some games were made recently in a jam, we will be the people will test it and give us feedbacks. It's also nice.
I want to try
That's
something
really
out.
cool.
Okay. So maybe, I don't know if this is a QA in me, but like, can he jump while he's falling or something like that?
Oh.
Sure.
I actually wish that were the feature because
Okay,
if I fail this jump, then I can do a double jump.
just
Alright.
try jumping there because
Oh,
we're just
don't tell
maybe
me
doing.
that.
Imagine. Okay. That would be
I wish it were that simple. Come on, we have to at least finish this level. At least this one. Who designed this? You're evil. You're a very evil person.
You're evil.
I'm kidding.
Oh, and you haven't seen the last level. The last
Oof.
level is evil.
Come on.
Yay!
You did it!
Oh wait. Oh wait, no.
Yeah, there you go. You have to compensate this
What?
somehow.
Oh wait,
There you-
wait.
you-
Oh, this is really evil. Oh, Wanna go ahead?
No, let's
Oh.
try another one. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
It was really cool.
Game.
It is
Well
really,
played.
really cool. Yeah.
So I'm gonna show you guys now a game that was made during. So we went to Copenhagen.
Oh.
We two teams went to Copenhagen, and they made 2 games.
Mhm.
And basically we had like a bunch of teams. It kind of was a bunch of combos of teams. We'll explain you guys as you guys play.
Okay.
This was one of the games that we made. Just screen share so that everyone in the stream can see it.
Is he failing?
Yeah.
You're good at it. Come on, you have the practice.
I think this one is easier in my opinion. So I was one of the artists that worked on this game. And basically we had 48 hours to make this game.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
More pressure. No
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. And basically we had 3 teams. So we got Baku, which is the creature, which is like a Japanese creature that basically he watches over people's dreams and eats their nightmares. And so he's kind of
Nice touch the
protector.
kanji there.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other team was Sex on the Beach, the drink. And yeah, we kind of incorporated it in a bar setting.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we had the other team was just a piece of fabric that I used to incorporate in the art, as you guys will see. So I'll
So wait, you have to incorporate those 3 things on one game.
on one game.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
In 48 hours.
in 48 hours. Yeah, insane. So we have a
And
little.
still sleep.
So pretty.
Yeah, we have a little animation to start,
Oh.
which Mariana Sanch worked on. I really like this animation. It's
That's
really cute.
amazing.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Can you maybe put this full screen? Yeah. Why is this breaking?
No.
Let's see. Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
it was stopped just to
Baku. This layer should be behind.
Fine. Exactly. Yeah. So the game will now start.
Like the dramatic.
Exactly.
Perfect. It's so perfect, man.
So this is kind of difference games. So we have like a bunch of rooms that you guys can flip through, and the objective is to memorize, and then they will start changing because our concept was these are people's dreams, and the nightmares are invading, and they are changing people's dreams.
You did this in 48 hours?
Yeah,
That's
like
amazing.
just the idea itself is
Wow.
pretty cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry for interrupting. Go
No,
on.
no, no. I appreciate it because I work on the art, so like.
Yeah.
That's really
Thank you.
cool.
Like we're sold on the art.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if you guys want to play, basically it's just flipping
Do you wanna
to
go?
the rooms.
We can play together, I think. We have to
Yeah.
memorize
Basically the layout, and then some objects will be changed.
Okay. It's only like keys?
It's keys, and then it's the mouse to select the
Okay.
differences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Let's see.
are
Dude, okay, I'm not going to ask. I want to see if I can figure it out. Because I don't know when they're going to change. You know?
No, they have 4 rooms, and only when you flip through all 4 rooms does it start. Because we had people play test because we had the game kind of ready in the first day.
Okay.
So
Wow.
Yeah. So we
One
had
full day to test.
yeah.
That's well
So we had people testing our game, and one thing that people said was like because we
this is something game something.
yeah, it is. So I have a bunch of when I was drawing, I wanted to make a bunch of Easter eggs. So basically, this, according to Google, says GameDev Técnico.
that's
In-
so
yeah, in
good.
The game part at least I can read. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and this was the piece of fabric that we had that I just kind of multiplied over some layers to like to do a little bit of like to incorporate the pattern and also to use it as texture, which I think turned out pretty well.
That's
Yeah.
such a cool idea to
Yeah.
incorporate those 3 things. Let's go back to the other ones and then we see the last one. What do you think?
Yeah.
Because once we
I
see the
already
last
forgot
one, we're
everything. So there are 3 like
Stop
paintings.
thinking like me. No. Think. No. Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Wait.
I'm horrible at this.
Okay.
Okay.
It's memorized.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So and any guesses to what says here?
C'est something sensual.
So
Zaze. Oh no.
do you remember the name of our drink?
Sex on the beach.
Six.
Well
Almost.
thought. Well thought.
Beachy. That's that makes sense. Yeah. That
There's a tiny
flexing my
Yeah.
poor Japanese skills. Sorry.
No,
ready?
good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
How many lockers are there? Ultras 4. Okay.
Alright.
Let's go to the final room.
There's still one more.
Okay.
Let's go.
The final room is my favorite room.
Oh, I'm not gonna count all those masks.
I'm not that mean.
there you
Thank
go.
you.
That mean.
But it's interesting, like 3, 4, 4, 3, 4. Okay, there's a pattern here, kind of. Not sure. Oh,
Okay,
the team is
so
reaching.
yeah.
Okay.
So now things will start changing in the rooms.
Can I go back then?
Yeah, you can go through all the
Okay.
rooms.
Oh my god, I feel dumb as hell.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Some of them.
Did something change?
The things I memorized are there, so what's going on?
Is this pattern? Can we click now?
Yeah, you can click.
Don't do the.
No, you can.
We-
Because we didn't incorporate the mechanic of like if you spam click you lose.
Okay,
You
okay.
We should have, yeah, but we thought
So
no,
if I click on something and nothing happens, it's
Yeah.
basically there's no difference there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it was 4 things here. Maybe
4
I'm
things?
like. I think
Do you know where?
No.
Oh,
Yeah. So basically, when it passes a lot of time from a difference, you lose the game. Basically.
Oh, okay. To find different. Okay.
But it's so
Even this
cool.
animation is very cute.
So,
Yeah. Let's do it again.
Fast forward,
Let's do it
yeah.
again.
you can skip the intro.
Okay.
Oh, that was not.
Let's memorize the dreams. I still don't know what changed.
No,
Maybe
no.
nothing changed. Let's just. Oh, now it will trigger.
Yeah, now it will trigger the you pass all the rooms. Now it gives
Yeah,
like
but otherwise
some
it would be
seconds.
like-
Okay. So we still have some seconds.
Yeah, until it appears written.
Go
that
back.
you-
Is it possible that nothing changes?
Okay.
Ooh la la.
Ah,
But now,
Okay.
okay.
I can give you guys one tip. Like, it will never generate a new object if you are already in the room. So if you are in this
Okay.
room and nothing is different,
Yeah.
nothing will appear.
I figured.
Was this
Yeah,
here?
that's
okay.
true.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Cool. It's
So,
how
I'm not
many
sure about
objects
this
per
one.
room?
So,
Okay. This clearly wasn't here.
Yeah.
So we also added those clouds, and basically those mean that the timer is running out, because some people complain that the timer was too short. So it kind of.
This is no. Oh,
the tree.
Yeah, there was a tree thingy.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right here.
There you go.
And the shoes.
Shoes.
how I like this game.
All right.
This is the background.
All good.
The box?
I
I'm not
think the box
sure.
is there.
Was it?
I think this wasn't here. I'm gonna click it.
No, it was. It was.
okay,
It was
okay.
like 4 or 5. Wait, go on.
Oh, wait. There's a...
Yeah.
Oh, because if we leave without finding...
Basically, it has like a timer.
Yeah.
And after a certain amount of time, it starts like spawning clouds.
Yeah.
And then after those clouds, you lose if you
Okay.
don't find it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any like feedback or something.
I think everything's been said. Like the art on this game is really really cool. Like the fact you came up with all this, even the animation in 48 hours. Like round of applause.
Right. So how many were you?
We were 2 artists, so.
Wow, that's really good work for real.
Mariana worked on the animations and she worked on the bar, and I worked on the other backgrounds and then the losing and winning animation.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work for 2 days.
Yeah.
Props to that, for
Props,
sure.
for sure.
That's
Yeah.
really- It was really good also the incorporation of the props.
Yeah.
That they actually matched. So that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to like first draw the background and then try to think what makes sense to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could have like made it a little less saturated, the objects, to make it even harder.
Yeah.
But
It kind of
This
falls
is
on,
really
on the
cool.
what I was saying earlier. Like you're developing something and you kind of develop a funnel vision. Like this has to look pretty. Like and it is super pretty.
yeah,
Now the gameplay
The
part.
tiny
How
details.
what will Like I've already spent 47 hours. I have 1 hour left.
tired of watching 40 hours the
But
same thing.
really
No.
great effort.
Yeah.
Great effort.
Amazing, really good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. And I think we have to wrap it up. So thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for playing our games and giving advice.
Thank you guys.
Thank
That
you. It was a
awesome.
pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you. So gamers and developers, I'll be seeing you with the next presenters in a few seconds. So I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, gamers and developers. We have two more speakers here, and we have with us two of our founding fathers of GDT. So, welcome, Diogo and Ricardo.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
Thank you.
So, I would like to start as the two of the founding fathers. What made you start GDT? Like, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, at the time we were in this exact room as the GameDev Técnico, and at the time we did mostly research, like events, and most game development was done by the students in the game development courses, and there was no actual junior game studio in Técnico, and there was a lot of people that wanted to develop games, but the work that they were doing back in the courses never get out of the courses to the real world. So
Yeah.
and although some of the courses are called game development and methodology, game production, game design, and so on,
computer graphics for games, and artificial intelligence for games.
they mostly focus on that scope, and they do not pick up on the game and carry out to the real world. And the challenge of making a game from a prototype, from pre-production to production, and then to distribution is a huge one that the industry really wants people to know about and to have experience with that regard. So at the time we were in this room 3 years ago, more or less. Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
Yeah,
2020, and
it's been a while.
you were still at the Games Lab. I was not at the Games Lab anymore. And we, myself, Ricardo, Pedro Rodrigues, Manuel Guimarães, and Rui Prada decided to create the game studio as a student club here at Technic. And then in March, COVID hit, and it was pretty cool. So we had a lot of plans to go to Nordic Game Jam, for instance, and we had to postpone that. So we decided to do a COVID game.
Yeah.
And then we had a lot of people joining us, not only from Technic, but from other colleges and universities around Lisbon. So we decided to move it to a junior association, which is something a little more robust legally. It's a company, a non-profit company. And yeah, here you are.
Here
Taking
I
care of
am.
this.
Yeah, and thank you.
Everybody else, yeah.
I think it is a great initiative, and I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for you guys for starting it. So, if you guys want to talk a little bit about what are you doing now after GameDev Técnico? Like, what are you currently working
Well,
on?
I can pick that up. So I'm still finishing my PhD.
Yeah.
I'm almost at the end. I'm running experiments and just bringing my head on writing. And my PhD focuses more on artificial intelligence, emotional wise, and so it's more UX. So it can be game related and mostly is, but can also have other areas. But it's mostly that. So while perhaps for most of you that join GameDev Técnico, you'll see a progression like, okay, you join in bachelor's, you follow through the masters. Here, my experience was a bit different, right? So it was more I did the masters. At the end of the masters, I joined the games lab and then joined forces to create GameDev Técnico. So it was a bit of a different experience. So I'm still finishing my PhD, so I'm pointing towards a couple more months to get it done. And afterwards, I'm hoping to join the gaming industry, but we'll check. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you'll be back to tell us about it.
I hope
Next
so.
year.
I hope so, yeah.
I haven't finished mine yet. I have already delivered my thesis, so I'm also doing the PhD with Ricardo. We start more or less at the same time. We focus more on the effective computing and AI.
Mhm.
I work more on social behavior and agent-based simulation in games as well. I delivered the thesis in February. I'm still waiting to defend it, but in the meanwhile, I've been working in a project in Denmark that we develop VR games using effective computing and more stuff. I joined the project, if I recall, back in May last year or June last year. I'm not sure, but around that time, and I stayed in the project until January this year. Then I delivered the thesis. I'm currently working at the Portuguese Game Developers Association as well, APVP. I have a couple of games that I'm trying to release right now, creating a company for that matter too.
Nice.
And another side project using the knowledge and the technology we develop in our doctoral programs to try to create a company that focus on automated playtesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Let's see how it goes.
Let's hope it goes well.
Yeah.
It will.
Do it. Yeah. So, Ricardo, question about, so you were telling that you want to join the gaming industry.
Mhm.
Do you still want to work with artificial intelligence, or do you have like some other areas?
I don't know, to be honest. I want to learn how it is to work in the industry because, as you said, here at Technico, we tend to focus more on the prototype, on the methodology, so the knowledge and not the product. And so what tends to happen when you go to the industry is that you're focusing on the product and the knowledge is a byproduct, let's say. So there are areas where you can mix both. So research and development in some game companies, some big game companies is, of course, somewhere I wish to join perhaps. But we'll see. I still think I have I still have a lack of knowledge in many areas regarding game development, which I hope to improve.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. I'm applying to a couple of places. Let's see where I end up, and we'll go from there.
Nice, keeping your options open, of course. Yeah. So, Joe, being in APVP, right? What is like your experience with the video game industry in Portugal? Like, do you feel like there's a growth happening? What do you think? Where is that?
So I joined APVP back in July last year. I joined as a volunteer. The association was already established, but we did not have a lot of activity yet. We had back then, if I remember correctly, I don't know by heart, but I think it was 12 companies, the big ones, established in Portugal. And they founded the APVP back in 2021, but it only started to operate really around the summer of last year. And a lot of things have happened. Our work as the Game Developers Association is mostly to hear what our companies and members want to do and want to change in Portugal and try to boost their initiatives and their efforts to try to not only increase their expectations, their business volume, but also to create better conditions to hire local talent, to avoid brain drain, which is a big problem here in Portugal. But the industry overall is growing. We are currently conducting the census of 2021. And the data, it's not yet published, but the data shows it has grown by more than 50% since 2019, so in 2 years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of new studios coming up, mostly indie studios, but that take the business of game development very seriously. And that's important as well to try to create some role models. And hopefully we as a PvP can also leverage the resources we have from the big companies to help the smaller ones to establish. The early stages of those companies are very, very hard, mainly because you have to develop a product for 1 year, 1.5 years, and only then you can have some revenue. So it's good to engage with publishers, to try to get money from VCs. And we have good people in the association that can help companies with that in early stages, but also to try to, we do not want to organize events, but we want to be there whenever we feel we can have some input, some feedback that can benefit the overall industry. In the sense, we are representing the Portuguese game developers, and we want to help the ones that also want to help the game developers.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of events in Portugal, abroad as well, and we try to connect communities, to try to bring the smaller game developers to these big venues that are important. We are now trying to come up with something for Gamescom to try to bring a lot of companies, some companies there. Let's see how it goes. But overall, the industry is getting more mature in Portugal. Companies are establishing themselves here, and others are coming from other countries and having their own offices here as well. So that's good because we have a lack of senior developers in Portugal, and this is the way to bring them back from other companies, even if they were not educated here in Portugal. That's a way to make the industry more mature, to bring the senior level developers to Portugal and try to teach them some for the smaller companies here.
Yeah. So thank you for your work. Like that sounds that's really cool.
It's a cool job. It's a cool job.
It's really cool.
It's a learning experience as well. So
yeah. So I would like to go back and you guys think a little bit about how it all started. Like, how did you guys get into developing video games? Like, what fueled that interest? Hard question.
I'm getting old, so it was a long time ago. But I remember playing games. It's the main motivation to doing games, I guess. At least the experience we have of playing games is the one that drives us to do them. But I remember the first game I developed was with my cousin. I'm not sure if I was like in 9th grade, 10th grade, which was around that time. We designed some levels in Unreal Tournament 3, and I remember I don't recall that well, but I remember at the time it was so funny to me to see that I could program a trigger that then opened a door and then something changed in the economy of the game, and that was very cool. And 2 years later, I remember being in a course in high school that was I don't know how to call it, but it was like TIC and something where we could do some multimedia project at the end. And I did a map, like a trivia game. And then I went to Técnico. During my bachelor's, I did not attend any game-related courses because the only thing close to that was computer graphics and what else?
Artificial intelligence?
No, user-centered design, which is more or less like designing games, or at least the process, not the product. And then in the masters, I did mostly the AI courses and management courses, but I did not attend any game courses.
Until your PhD?
Until my PhD, because I decided to do a PhD there. But at the end of the masters, I did my master thesis on the game related thing. It was using virtual agents in VR to do a trainer that could teach police officers to interview suspects. But my work was mainly on the side of the AI, not really on the game development. And I founded Games Laboratory Jogos around that time, and I also wanted to do games. I participated in tons of game jams, organized the Global Game Jam, and it started to make sense to me to develop games because it was a cool challenge. And with my knowledge from AI, I did not just want to to use AI for traditional systems. I would like to see them in environments with believable characters, with a lot of affordances. So it made sense to go into games, and that's where I'm mostly been working on in the past, let's say, 5-6 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
For me, perhaps it's a more linear story, let's say. So, well, kind of. In 9th grade, before going to the 10th grade, I had to choose the specialty area, specialization area, and I would either choose humanities and go towards archaeology, which I love stories, so history, stories and histories, and so I was kind of split, but then I thought, well, I do love history, but I hate the process of that type of discovery, of that type of work, and so I was like, no, what I really want is to be like Indiana Jones. So perhaps I'll be more like Lara Croft and make games or something like that. So I switched to the technology side, and so in that year I said, no, I'm going to make games, and perhaps I can go back and binding to a moment where I played, I think it was Fable.
Yeah.
And if you look at it today, it's quite of an old game, but it gives you the feeling of progression, of being in that world, and that your actions have consequences in that environment. And so that really pulled me in, and so I decided to go with that, to create my own environment, my own world, and that was what pulled me in. Then I went to high school at I think I did a course similar to yours, in the sense that in the 12th grade, I guess I made a small game that was basically an RPG Maker, I guess. So I downloaded like an illegal copy, but don't include that part of RPG Maker. I didn't know how to program, so I essentially removed tons of code that I kind of knew were related to like combat or something like that, and make a copy of my school like map, something like that. And essentially you would go collect books, and the more books you collected, you would unlock skins, and so you could change instead of being a student, you're now Pikachu or something like that. And afterwards I went to Technico, and mostly focused on games. So the bachelor's it's the same for everyone, but the masters were more focused on AI. And at the time there wasn't a game specialization as it is in the setting today. So I specialized in AI and interaction and visualization, something like that, with the added classes, like optional classes in games. And then I did the PhD, or I'm doing the PhD.
Yeah.
almost there. But yeah, that was it for me, at least for now.
For now, yeah, exactly. So I want you guys to play one of the games that we made here during the jam. So the jam team was divided, and the game I'm going to show you guys, I like to call it very much, how would I say, a Girls Go Games, but horror version. So I think the screen share is working.
It's a single player one?
Yeah, but you guys can cooperate. So you can go to play.
Yeah.
And so basically you have a lot of body parts, and you can choose them. And then
the usual body parts, right?
Yeah, and then you can create that character.
Okay.
So like a bunch of body parts.
It's not streaming?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're saying it's not.
So they are just watching us like look at a screen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I
We are
the
good.
wrong thing.
We're watching the screen.
Is it this? Are you guys seeing now? Yeah. Nice. Okay. So basically, we have body parts.
We have a new leg.
Yeah.
No.
So we have some drawn body parts, and we also some.
Oh, I like
some
that one.
real
Like
body
this one?
parts.
Yeah. For the left one?
Yeah.
For the right.
It's a Frankenstein.
The
You
one
have to
with
make it
without
different.
a boot, for example. Yeah,
This
that one's perfect.
Yeah, let's show the work of the artist.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very dark. First critic.
Yeah,
First feedback, try to improve the contrast.
yeah, it's very dark.
This is a sword, right?
I think so.
It looks like one.
That's a
And this
bag.
is an handbag?
A
or
handbag,
something?
yeah.
So let's put a sword in one hand and a handbag. Oh, there's no sword on the right hand. Okay. Sure. Let's. Oh gosh.
I would,
Yeah, I
so
guessed
I was
as
gonna
much.
say there's some Easter eggs in some of
The
the
hell
body
of a
parts.
Easter egg.
Exactly.
Let's go with this
It's
one
not that
just to be
hidden,
safe.
but yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. Yeah, sure. So
So
now
you can
You
create.
get it. You hit create,
okay.
and then you give it a name.
Touch Pro.
Wow, thank you.
Ah, okay.
And then they drink coffee,
Okay.
and that's basically it.
Oh, this is the game.
Okay.
And then if you go return,
Do you want to play it?
Oh yeah, sure. Let me click on. I
So,
clicked on return.
this
But
was a
but
very
we have
fun
a gallery.
entry. We have a gallery, and you can see some of my creations. Because I thought it was very funny to give them numbers as names. Because I was playing that last night.
Yeah, just add some NFTs to the game and I'm gonna make a bunch of money. with this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you can see them drinking coffee again.
Ah, okay. So you designed it to be for. Okay.
So,
you-
This
if
was
any other hat, it will seems like he's drinking the coffee from his neck, right? But for
Yeah.
this one
It
specifically,
works.
it works.
it had to be
quite well.
perfect for our president.
Yes. I
It needed to work. But yeah, so this was the most chaotic entry that we have ever had on a jam. So now I'm gonna show you guys another game. I
Chaotic?
think we have time, yeah.
Okay.
Have you
Yeah,
played?
I think
Have you
it's
played
pretty
the
chaotic.
our tower game? That was a bit chaotic as well.
I think this is a different type of chaos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one that I cannot understand.
Exactly.
But
I
I'm
was-
old. I'm a boomer here.
No, it's like I was saying. I was calling it Girls Go Games Gone Horror. It's very that. So I think I'm gonna show you guys. Let me.
Francamente lindo. I don't
Yeah,
know if we
it's
said the
a
name.
very fun name. Yeah. So I'm gonna show you guys. Let me see. I can show you the ID, I guess. Or I think Alive is working now. I think. Let me see. Let me turn this off. Yeah. Okay. So I have one game playing. Close this one.
Oh, it was made to.
So you had a lot of
Godot.
engines being used.
Yeah. So that was something that we wanted our that we said to them. Like we had Google Forms, and we asked people if they wanted to use different engines. And so we had 3 Godot games and 1 Unreal. Let's hope it doesn't break again.
From what I heard recently,
Okay, so yeah.
Godot is being used more than Unity in itch.io.
A second.
The streaming.
I always forget about that.
So that's also interesting.
Yeah, we have a lot of people here in GDT that are really big fans of Godot, and yeah, they are kind of like they have made some games in it. So if you guys want to play, so
Yeah, do you want to play this one?
Yeah, I'll play this one.
This
Yeah,
was made in
okay.
Unreal.
Okay, I'll just. May I? If I
Yeah,
can-
I
okay.
can pull it. No, I
I'll-
can pull it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
It's
streaming.
not streaming.
It's streaming there, so it's. I think it's.
Is
Okay.
it streaming or? Okay, it's streaming.
Okay.
Technical
fine.
difficulties. So yeah.
It's lagging up. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably lagging because that is Unreal and that is my computer, and my computer is not great. So yeah, but so this game,
Oh god. Okay.
you have like 2 sides, and one shoots
It shoots.
orange stuff,
Okay,
and
it's
the other
shooting.
shoots green stuff, and then you have to hit the oranges with the orange thing, and the green ones with the green thing.
Okay. Perhaps I lost.
Perhaps, but you can start again.
Because the game is a bit laggy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really good at this kind
Yeah,
of types of
yeah.
game. Yeah.
That's the-
I can
that's
just,
That's why I asked you to play.
yeah.
That's the programmer
Um,
excuse. It's lagging.
So I suppose. Okay. So when. Okay.
I saw someone was playing by thermal.
So yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
Oh,
there
okay.
you go.
Okay. I can kind of aim.
From
Kinda,
there,
yeah.
Already finding the tricks of the game. Don't get too close to them.
Yeah.
There's gonna be
It's
one on the side.
2, 3. Oh my god. I'll get it there. Can I hit that? Okay.
Tanto na step, tanto
You have some boxes. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, I'll try
so
to.
It's it's
The
HP,
box
right?
is HP, but you just have to like go through.
Okay,
them.
so I got hit by something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just go through them. Okay. So let's search around. I like the colors. They are very similar.
They are very meaty. You it's very like, for me, it reminds me like I'm inside of a creature.
Yeah, me as well. Like,
Yeah.
And I suppose, yeah, okay. I think performance here is a big
Yeah.
part of it, but overall it seems like a Doom type game.
was there a theme to the jam?
Yeah. So the thing with the jam was divided.
Divided. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Their concept was so you have the two sides as well. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And they had one mechanic that unfortunately didn't work on the build, but I think it was pretty interesting. That basically, if you hit with the wrong color, the skeleton will divide into two,
Oh,
so you'll create more
Mm,
enemies.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. That would
be cool, right? Yeah.
I think it would also be good to have a visual reference for which color is which, let's say.
Oh
So
yeah,
because
on
it
the, on the
have-
actual sides, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
But it's very hard to distinguish the NPCs from the background. That's
The red
true.
NPCs, namely, because the
Yeah.
greens is okay. Oh, this
Yeah,
is
probably green and
Imagine
blue.
if the mechanic was working and you could divide more monsters, the performance of the game would be
Insane, yeah.
pretty cool. It will be a PowerPoint presentation.
Recently Unreal has been pushing the mass entity system. It's basically a entity component system. Oh, this is also lagging behind. Which can be useful in these cases if you want to have like tons of NPCs, but it's a bit hard to work with. The way you think about it changes. So, but it's fun. This one is fun. Oh, sorry, wrong one. I guess.
Something that I was talking about with the team that I think would be pretty fun is that if you do like very dark lighting and it's just some spotlights, and then you have to get really close to the enemies to see their colors, it would be a really fun horror game. To be just full of jump scares.
Or even if the lights just turn on and off. Like
Yeah.
those-
Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
But colors with different, the lights with different colors.
Ooh,
so that
yeah.
you need to.
That would be
That
cool.
will turn this into more of a puzzle game rather than
Yeah.
what it actually is.
These rooms are filled with. Okay. Is there a way out, or is it just?
I don't think so. I think the game is like, yeah, it's
There's
just.
a way out.
Oh, there's a way out.
Oh.
There's
Okay.
like a
Oh,
portal.
okay.
Oh, you
Yeah.
found one.
Yeah, I
Found a
found
way
one, I
out.
found one, yeah.
You wanna try it?
No.
So I think we have a little bit more time. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if anyone here has any questions. Cause I kind of skipped that. Oh, so no one has any questions.
So we do not have time.
No, we have time.
We have
I
time.
can ask you a question.
You can, sure. Go ahead.
Sure. So what is like to see like how big GameDev Técnico is turning? Like because we have a lot of members right now. Our last recruitment was the biggest recruitment ever in terms of people. And how is it like for you guys that started all of this to see its growth in such a short time? Because like it's 3 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I was not when we started. We were 4, and then we had a couple of friends that also wanted to join. Pedro Soares, George, and some people joined us, and we thought about being around 20 by the end of the first year, but we were around like 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, and we rejected a lot of people just to keep the group sane and to grow in a sustainable way. But the reality is that when we started the group, we knew that most of the students here from Técnico wanted to join the course also to make games, and they had to wait 3 years to start getting into games. And soon we realized that while we were at the Games Lab, that people came to us and said, "How can I do games?" And we have to wait 3 years, and that's not fun. And so GameDev Técnico also tried to fill that gap where people add the skills and the motivation to do games. So I guess it's normal that after 3 years, how many are you? 18 or?
We are, yeah.
But
90,
it's a huge number, and for us, we realized early on that the game courses had a couple of collaborations with the fine art school.
Yeah.
Now it's with the writing school as well. You're giving one course, so you know it better than I do. But back in the days, there was a school called Odd School, and Restart also helped with in some years. But people did not really engage in a team-like environment that's so beneficial for the game developers to learn now before going to the companies. As Jason said, it's pretty cool to have the skill set to program an MMO, but if you do not know how to work in a team, you're not gonna do anything. So we also wanted to do that, and we started to make some calls at the Fine Arts School, at Lusofna, in some other schools, and people started to join.
Yeah.
It was quite organic and natural. It was important for us at the start. I don't know how you are doing the recruitment right now, but it was important for us to filter people that wanted to learn more than the ones that had a good skill set.
Yeah.
But maybe that's also a problem because most of the people here are students and they do not have a lot of experience in game development. And in the end, if you only have juniors, who's going to learn? But I think events like this, where you bring people from other companies and you try to mentor them, it's a good way to solve that problem. But the goal since the start was to produce games, to release games, not only to participate in game jams, which is important to develop problem-solving skills, to get to understand the different facets of developing the game, the music, like we see now, the 3D art, the anime AI, programming. There's also level design, game design, sound design, everything. But also the process of releasing a game. We did a list game with the CCB in 2021, I believe it was the release date. We were doing something with another museum. We were trying to put the games into the market so that you guys, the students, have a feeling of what is to release a game and have people playing the game, not only developing the game. The process of developing the game is very creative and it's very cool. But in the end, we need to release the game, to put that in the players' hands and to try to get feedback. And that was the main goal of GameDev Técnico. And hopefully, most of the 90 people now in GameDev Técnico are having that experience.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. So 1 minute. Okay. I can say that I was pleased by the number of people, but I can't say I was really surprised, and that's a good thing. So it is to say that there was a lack here of a group for the development of games, and people saw an opportunity and jumped in, and so I was lucky to join. I supervised a couple of games, not only in game jams but one long term, and it was really good to see. And I also teach here at Technic some game courses, and the difference in someone that already has the know-how of opening an engine, thinking about how to make games, versus someone that gets to a master's and doesn't know anything on games. It's a stark difference, and it's really good to see that groups that already have someone that knows how to program games, they tend to outcome some really interesting projects, because the learning curve is reduced just by their mere presence, because they can help, and so it really makes a difference, even if it's just for the game course.
I think that's the biggest plus, if you allow me to add, it's that the students now, particularly in Technic, not in the other colleges and universities, we need to do the game development courses in 7 weeks, 8 weeks, or something like that, and it's so hard for the students to learn engines, tools, whatever. So they already come with some knowledge from the association, from the GameDev Técnico, and when they get there, they actually learn what they are supposed to learn, rather than learning all the tools.
Okay. So thank you so much, guys, for your time. And I would like to say from the community, thank you so much.